Now this is called a happy fish pie, and you're going to ask me, aren't you, why it's called a happy fish pie, because it's so bloody good it brings a smile to your face when you have it. I just made that up. Do you think that's a good one? I actually saw it, not this particular recipe, but I saw a recipe for a happy fish pie in one of the magazines, and I thought, oh, that's a great name. So I stole the name, not the recipe. And then I had to come up with a reason why it was called a happy fish pie. I reckon that's good enough, isn't it? First of all, some olive oil and butter in a big pot, in some bacon. Now the bacon's optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you're a fishitarian, is there such a word called a fishitarian? Well, there is now. And you just want fish and vegetables, well, leave the bacon out. And to that I then add some sliced leeks and some mushies. Quite a few leeks, guys. And as you can see, that's a bit dry, so we'll throw a little bit more butter in. Somebody emailed me recently and said, oh, goodness, you use a lot of butter. Well, yes, I actually like butter, but I mean, I don't know whether I use a lot, but I do use a lot, I suppose. But I suggested that they have a look at James Martin now. I don't know whether you've seen James Martin. He's an English chef, a great friend of Floyd's, actually. He's my favourite TV chef. I'm going off on a tangent, aren't I? But anyway, if you think I use a lot of butter, he would have put a whole pound in for this dish. I've never seen anyone use so much in my life. And to that we're then going to add about a quarter of a cup of white wine, nice dry white wine. I can turn it up now because I want that white wine to reduce quite dramatically. And while that's happening, let's just chop a bit of dill for later on. You don't use too much because, as we know, dill is a strong herb. And if you use too much, it takes over, doesn't it? All right, that's looking pretty good. Just have a look in there, James, and you see it's reduced by about half. To that we're then going to add a couple of really good spoons of flour because we want this sauce to be pretty thick. And it's best to add the thickening agent now rather than later. You know how people add flour and corn flour and all those things at the end? Well, the sauce will always taste the flour when you do that, but if you do it here and you turn this right down and you cook this, it won't taste the flour. So just keep an eye on it because we don't want it to burn, do we? And I've got here about 3 cups of milk which I've heated, and there's also a cup of chicken stock in it. You can use fish stock obviously if you like. Right, you know when this is ready, when it forms a little crust on the base of the pan, you see that? And to that we then add all at once your milk and stock and give it a good whisk. And then we will just cook that until it's thick. Now I'll just show you the fish just out of interest. Because what I've got here is, I got some scallops because they look really good. You could add prawns if you wanted to, so you make it a seafood pie. And I've got some salmon and I've got some blue eye. You want a nice steaky fish, blue eye or trevally, barramundi, something like that. And so that will go in at the very last moment. Don't put it in now, put it in the very last moment. I've got some dill, I've got some cream, I've got some seasoning. But I reckon to thicken this, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Don't cook it too fast. All right, now let's have a little taste of this. Oh, it's not bad. I shouldn't sound surprised, should I? A little bit of lemon, I reckon, just a little bit of lemon zest. A little bit of pepper. In this case, because it's a white sauce, I use white pepper as opposed to black. And I then turn it off and we throw in our fish. Now yes, there is a lot, and yes, I do put some in the freezer for another day. Now I put my dill in, a little bit of cream, and then what we do is we just leave that to sit. The heat of the sauce will start the cooking process of the fish. So you don't leave the sauce on because you don't want to overcook the fish, because by the time we put it in the oven, cook it for another 10 or 15 minutes, Bob's your uncle. Is Bob? No, I didn't have an uncle called Bob. Anyway, you know what I mean, don't you? My wife said about this fish pie, does this mean I have to smile the whole time I'm eating it? And I said, yes. Yeah, I don't think she took much notice. Anyway, Just plenty of seafood in it, guys. As I said, it's salmon, blue eye, and scallops, but you could put anything in it. You really could, but you want nice steaky fish so that it doesn't cook too much, and you want to cool it a bit before you put the mashed potato on. Now this is enough for at least 2. You put mussels in it too if you like. Oysters, oh, unless they're really big, I think could be a bit of a worry, you know, because what would happen with the oysters is they'd overcook. I made some mashed potato yesterday because I thought I'd get my prep done in advance. Very efficient I am. And I'm just heating it, and I made it with cream and butter and, you know, the usual. Nice, well seasoned. And then into a piping bag. I remember when I first started in restaurants 300 years ago, we used to keep the mashed potato in the piping bag and pipe it on the plate. And can you imagine how it stank? But then again, we didn't have microwaves in those days. See, if the mix is hot underneath it, what will happen is the mash will melt into it, which we don't want. We want it to sit on the top. And we want also the sauce to thicken a bit, which happens when you leave it to sit there for a while. Now, I have seen people put cheese on it. I don't think you need cheese. I really don't. I don't think cheese works with this kind of sauce. So just straight into the oven, 15 minutes, something like that. You need it to be bubbling around the edges. You know, that's the mix, the seafood mix, all right? Right, so this is a brilliant looking fish pie. And to go with it, a really nice light Pinot from the Yarra Valley. I mean, there's 2 types of Pinots. There's the big bold ones like the French make, and there's a lighter style, which we seem to like in Australia. Anyway, it'll go brilliantly with that fish pie. And remember, while you're eating it, a smile on your face.